Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the broadcast. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Sunday. Feels weird saying that. Usually don't do shows on Sundays. June 30th, 2019. And I'm back here with you for another broadcast. Glad you could join us. Glad you could be here with me as I continue to broadcast through the weekend because, we usually do fundraising weeks here at the show and as a network, but being that Monday is the first, he had to kind of readjust. So instead of doing them throughout a whole week, I've decided to readjust that and do it through the weekend. So here I am, and I've been taking your questions along with contributions. Still waiting to hear back from one person who didn't get a question in, but other than that, we didn't have anything else. So, but I still needed to get up here and do a show and try to put something out today, nonetheless. So I've got some news in here to get into for you on the show tonight. Stuff I didn't get into during the week, so we'll get into that. And we'd like to have more contributions and questions come in. As of right now, we've got about 24 hours left to raise the amount that we need, the minimum amount that we need to cover the operating costs for the month. We have, trying to see where we're at. Well, 2,300, of course, that's our monthly goal. We're at 815 right now. As of this show right now, it's at 815. So that means in the next 24 hours, let me see. We need approximately a minimum of approximately 800. Now that'll put us at zero again, but that'll at least get us square, and then we can have a couple extra days to raise the rest of the amount. So minimum of 800 is what we've got to have in here. No ifs or buts. Look, if 4 people, we've got a lot of new listeners now. We've been getting a crap ton of new subscribers lately. They've been coming in fast and furious. But the problem with that is we're getting a lot of new subscribers and a lot of new followers. So thank you to all you new people who've tuned in and listened. But we're just not getting a lot of new contributors. So the $200 deal on the perks package on the campaign page is still a great way to go. I mean, like I said, we just recently put the brand new download collection box set in the download shop, which has everything that I've put out, everything that's in the download shop for sale in it in one package for a discounted price. So if you contribute $200 to the campaign, you're going to get that complete download collection box set, and you get to ask a question. So basically, you're buying the box set and paying $25 to get to ask a question on air as well. You contribute $100, you get 5 free downloads of your choice in the store and a question on the show. So listen, if we can get 4 people in here by tomorrow at the $200 level, and then additionally get 2 more people at the $100 level, the one will be set. But we have to raise this minimum amount. Again, 900 would even be better because it wouldn't leave me at absolute zero. But 800 is a minimum we got to have. So 4 people at that $200 deal. I mean, I know not every one of you out there has seen or heard all of my audiobooks, all my films, and that's where really all the best of my info is found. So this is a perfect time for you to, if you never contributed for it, to do that. And plus, you'll get the download collection box set that has all my work in it. So you'll be kicking it off right if you've just recently became a listener and a follower of my work. So there you go. But regardless of that, we just need everybody to act now. We are out of time. We have no grace period this week. It's a holiday week too. So we absolutely have to reach our goal to stay alive and to keep from going under. And like I said, I got a birthday coming up next week. I'm furiously trying to get Spellcasters 2 out by next weekend. But this is the main obstacle and main goal that we have to overcome right now. So everybody who has procrastinated or waits till the last minute, we got to have everybody stepping up so we can reach this goal and keep everything up in front. Like I said, this is the most crucial time ever for me. How many times I've had to redo this film and start all over from scratch, and to be as close now as I am to the finish line, it feels fantastic. But we still got this thing hanging over our heads, and we got to have everybody contributing anything. I mean, if you can't come in at the $100, $200 level, whatever you can put in. Not negating those, but I try to give at least advantages for people to make larger contributions. We also have one for the $600 level and the $1,000 level too, so check those out on the campaign page. You can find that in the comment section and in the information section of the video on YouTube, as well as on our Facebook pages, the Global Reality Radio Network Facebook page and the Josh Reeves Filmmaker Talk Show Explorer page. You can find all of that there. So the time is now. We have less than 24 hours now to raise a minimum of $800. And again, that's only going to get us even. But the absolute goal is to reach 100%. So as many people as we can get. I'd love to get hit with 6 or 8 questions tomorrow. That'd be a great Monday show to close this thing out and end it. But, if we got 4 people to come in at that $200 level, and then say 2 more to come in at the $100 level, and, a few whatever smaller amounts, that will get us to where we need to be and keep us out of any panic situations, which is what I'm trying to avoid here more than anything else. The only thing I want for my birthday is for us to be able to continue and for me to finish this film, get a new Mac in here so we can do things faster and better and everything. That's all I want. That's all I ever want. I don't want anything else out of life other than to be able to continue month from, I'd love to have like all the operating costs for like a year paid in one shot sometime, that would be awesome. Because then I could see what I could just do for a solid year if I didn't have to worry about fundraising for a solid year, what I could do. That'd be incredible. Probably get 3 films out in a year if I didn't have to worry about fucking fundraising all the time. No shit. So, there you go, folks. Time to act now. No time left. And time to not procrastinate. We need everybody, all hands on deck right now. All right, let's see what we got here in the news to cover. I floated inside. Man returns to the site of 1973 UFO abduction as it gets a historical marker. Wow, that's interesting. Supposed UFO abductions usually don't get their own historical markers. What is certain about the night of October 11th, 1973 is this. When Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker Jr. arrived at the sheriff's department in Pascagoula, Mississippi, they were frantic. They told authorities they had just been abducted by aliens. Each had a puncture wound in one arm. Police tried to catch them in a lie, but it didn't work. Both men later passed polygraph tests. On Saturday, the riverbank where the men said the close encounter happened got a historical marker, calling it one of the best documented cases of alien abduction. After decades of avoiding media attention, Parker was there for the dedication. Hickson died in 2011. In 1973, Hickson was Parker's foreman at a shipyard. The two had gone fishing after work at an abandoned boat launch and were still there after the sun went down. I was just getting ready to get some more bait, Hickson told the Washington Post in 1975, when I heard a kind of zipping sound. I looked up and saw a blue flashing light. Calvin turned around too. We saw a 30-foot long object with a little dome on top. Yeah, some of this stuff, though, I still think some of this stuff is, not all of it certainly, some of this stuff I still think is government black ops posing as little green men. As it hovered from back engineered alien technology, of course, but I don't think all of this stuff is all abductions. I do think they're using back engineered extraterrestrial technology, but I also think they're using extraterrestrials and that stuff. That's why they've never told us about this stuff and they kept it a secret. They use it for covert ops. It's a good way to get intel out of somebody. And when you look at the progression of this stuff and you look at the progression of UFO sightings, stories of abductions, and you coincide that with the desire for programs like MK Ultra to use drugs, hallucinogens, LSD, whatever it may be, for intel gathering in order to get intelligence out of somebody, making someone believe they were abducted by extraterrestrials in order to get information out of them. And then their memory of that is that they got abducted by aliens, and then nobody believes them, and it's a perfect cover story. And then they're not, because, if stories started to get out that, government people were doing this to Americans, eventually people would have enough and want questions. But if you can put up the front and make someone think they got abducted by extraterrestrials, and again, I'm not saying extraterrestrials and abductions, all that stuff aren't real. I'm just saying that not every case, 100% of the time, and I think there's a lot of evidence to support that some of these encounters are really fronts for them to get intel and do it under the guise of aliens instead of, them being abducted by people in official government uniforms or something, or army uniforms. It's really the perfect front, because then, you can't tie that to a particular country, I don't know, a lot of stuff I studied, especially with when I was doing the research into Scientology and into the, these auditing sessions that really are nothing more than hypnosis and ways to pull information out of people and then sell that information to the highest bidder, which is exactly what L. Ron Hubbard did. It was an intelligence gathering front on top of being a MK Ultra mind control experiment that also, that L. Ron Hubbard was influenced by just from the sheer fact of being involved in that stuff, He saw its power and saw its application in the, outside of just these mind control programs. Where did I leave off? Oh, as it hovered just above the ground, 3 small creatures emerged, also hovering, he said. Oh, so the people were hovering too. The aliens were hovering too. Interesting. The men were suddenly paralyzed. The creatures grabbed them with pincer-type claws and pulled them toward the object. So these are floating crab people? Shit. Should have guessed. I floated inside, Parker told the Biloxi Sun-Herald in 2018. Hickson said they were subjected to a physical examination by something that looked like a big eye, a constant mechanical sound buzzing the whole time. Yeah, you see, you wouldn't have thought anything about that in 1970 for whatever. You know what I mean? If you had it back then, with anyone's reference point for what machines and computers and stuff did, you would definitely throw in the sound of a constant, well, if that was extraterrestrials, that was advanced technology. Don't you think they'd have machines like we have now with our modern computers that they didn't have in that time in the 70s, where they're virtually don't create any sound because it's all digital, it's all running on computer things? That just sounds, that's very suspicious to me. It's suspect. Because if they were an advanced technology, even in 1970 something, their machines wouldn't go sound like a fucking industrial supply company or something. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't. So that kind of, if anything, it would be silent. Just like you hear when you a lot of times when you hear reports of seeing UFOs, there's no sound. I've seen that a lot with watching the chem spray planes and stuff, and there's oftentimes you can't hear. When your airliner flies over, even if it's high, you can hear the echo from the engines. Oftentimes you don't hear any engine sounds at all from these spray planes. And then they were dropped off right back in the dark delta where they started. Hickson found Parker standing up Arms raced to the sky and screaming, he told the Post. They ran for help. At first, sheriff investigators thought the men had just been drunk or lying. Oh, yeah. After interviewing the men, they left the room with a recorder, secretly taping, hoping to catch the pair dropping the act once they left, but they didn't. They kept on talking about what they'd seen and how scared they were. We did everything we knew how to try and break their stories, Jackson County Sheriff's Captain Glenn Ryder told the Post in 1975. If they were lying to me, they should be in Hollywood. Overnight, it was national news. There were news conferences and cameras thrust in their still stunned faces. A UFO investigator from Northwestern University flew down and said their story checked out. Skeptics called them liars or said Hickson had been having an episode of sleep paralysis with hypnagogic hallucinations, while Parker was just highly suggestible. Believers floated into Pascagoula by the thousands, wrapped in aluminum foil and sitting all night on the hoods of their cars waiting for visitors from another world. Hickson was 42 at the time, and he was well known in the community, so perhaps he felt more able to handle the media crush. He recounted the experience to anyone who would listen. He went on Johnny Carson and Dick Cavett and published a book in 1983. Parker, on the other hand, was 18 or 19 when it happened. He had just arrived in Pascagoula from an even smaller town and had planned to earn some extra money before returning home to get married. He told the media that he passed out at the beginning of the whole affair and couldn't remember what happened. That was the only lie he told, he said to the Sun Herald in 2018. In fact, he did remember what happened and was so afraid that aliens had infected him with something that when he got home from the sheriff's department, he took a bath in bleach. Within a few weeks, he skipped town. He got married and picked up work in oil fields. If someone at his job recognized him, he would quit. If Hickson was trying to get rich from the story, it didn't work. Parker told the Sun Herald that before his death in 2011, he occasionally paid the older man's electric bill. Parker, now in his 60s, slowly came out of hiding in recent years and in 2018 published a book of his own. Yeah, again, just like I talked about with the Lazar thing. Why now? Why now? Why these guys have been sitting on this shit for 45 years, just now decides to put out a book about it. It's the timing of this stuff, man. It really is. And they oftentimes don't tell you what these guys did for it. Never do they mention what these guys' jobs were. Or oftentimes these guys are government employees. I don't know. I'm not trying to poo-poo the whole alien thing. I believe there's something to it as much as anybody, but I also believe there's a large degree of psyop that's going on with it, and I believe that we are being pushed now after years of being told, you're a kook and a craze and a loon if you believe it. Now, in the past 10 years, they've switched that whole thing around. Now they're going out of their way to try and convince us that they are real. And so when you start seeing resources and stuff dedicated to this, news stories, constant TV shows, movies, it's pretty clear what's going on. Scientists think some supermassive black holes didn't start as stars. Despite the fact that scientists now have a real image of a supermassive black hole, they still have plenty of questions about the objects. Now, astrophysicists at Western University may have a new explanation for how some black holes formed. In most simple terms, the model suggests that supermassive black holes formed very, very quickly over very, very short periods of time and then stopped suddenly. Supermassive black holes had only a short time period. That one that they're talking about, that they show the pictures of that they have recently, I've been following that thing for a long time. The one that's supposedly on the edge of our galaxy. Man, I think that's I don't think that's just a black hole. The one that's on the edge of our galaxy, get the most recent pictures of. If you look at that thing, first off, the event horizon of that thing, here's what's interesting, is the event horizon of that supermassive black hole at the edge of our galaxy is pointed directly at us, at Earth. That was the most fascinating thing about that thing to me. And the way it looks, the shape of it, I think that thing's a portal, is what I think it is. I think it's some kind of, they've suggested for years that black holes could be portals or gateways to, but maybe not in every case. I think what they're calling a black hole at the edge, that's where, to me, where we should be putting all our resources towards going, is there. Because I think it very well could explain why we wound up in this part of the universe, which is basically on the fucking North 40 of the plantation, And I think that through that black hole, through portal, whatever, Stargate, I think that was artificial. I think it was made. I don't think that was created as a result. They certainly have shown no evidence. There's no, I forget what the term is. There's something that you usually see even for billions of years afterwards. You know, if a star or something like collapses in and creates a black hole, they're not seeing some of the normal things they expect to see around it. It's highly unusual. You can look this stuff up and do research on this on your own. I don't have all the data on it, but I've been paying attention to it. It's fascinating stuff because, to me, in my opinion, after looking at it, I think they're totally not telling us the truth. They're trying to, I mean, they really are fascinated with this thing and shocked by the pictures, but they're still really not giving us anything that we didn't already know before. And to me, from looking at it, I think it's an artificial black hole that was created by somebody as a portal to get between one of the universe to another. And I think it's possible that our planet Earth could have come through that and been brought through that to place us artificially in this very specific orbit, in this very specific star system with a single star, which is highly unusual in the universe. Most have 2 or 3 stars. Highly, highly unusual for us to live in something like that. And it almost feels, I don't know. I think that's where we should put it. Fuck going to Mars, fuck going to all these other places. They need to be going and going and seeing what's on the other side of that fucking thing. What else we got? How the total solar eclipse will affect you based on your sign. Interesting. So I guess there's a solar eclipse coming up on Tuesday. We may not be able to see the first eclipse of this season, a total eclipse on July 2nd from the United States, but that doesn't mean we should ignore it, because what many don't realize is eclipses can have an effect on each and every zodiac sign, and this upcoming total eclipse case, it could also have an effect on our country as a whole. But first, what is a total solar eclipse? I think we all know what a total solar eclipse is. I'm not going to bother reading that. This just goes through, and I'm not going to read all these. You can look this up and find this on your own. It just has breakdowns. So I guess, yeah, I mean, well, one solar eclipse is not more important than the other one, just like one equinox or one solstice or whatever is important. I mean, all these things have an effect on you. Why are they trying to make it? I don't know. Something seems fishy about that. Why are they trying to make this one out? We can't see it, but we want to make sure you know that, this thing's going to affect you whether you know it or not. And the fact of the matter is, they all affect you whether you know it or not. Every full moon, and I don't even keep up with that stuff oftentimes. But I can always tell that people will be acting a little crazy one day. And people I know that have kids, their kids don't want to go to sleep. People have cats, their cats are going crazy, running, doing laps, screaming. And you're like, oh, it must be a full moon. And you go look it up, and of course it is. You're like, yeah. So all that stuff, all the planetary alignments and the solar alignments and the alignments of the stars and where we're sitting at in what particular orbit, what moment in time, all has effects on stuff on Earth. And if you don't believe that it's true, even modern day politicians follow all that stuff. It's very important. You watch, if you keep track of that stuff, you can watch, you see what days and what alignments are happening. And then you go look at the news and see the stuff that happens in the news that day. These guys make a lot of moves, and a lot of stuff happens during whatever particular alignments and stuff might be going on to particular star systems, stars themselves, whether it's an eclipse. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the oldest known things that people on Earth have been doing for thousands of years. And people think it's lost in the modern time, but it's not. Even like if you look at like the farmer's almanac. The farmer's almanac is still, it has been for hundreds of years, the most accurate. Even beyond Doppler radar and all that bullshit, they have the most accurate weather prediction capabilities on Earth. And their way that they do it is proprietary, and it's a proprietary product, so it's secret. But it's based specifically on moon alignments, and it's basically the moon. That's what the whole Farmer's Almanac thing is based on. They're using the same methods they've been using for hundreds of years, and it's their proprietary model on how to do it. I mean, it's a highly regarded, highly held secret, because they can predict droughts and monsoons and stuff with highly accurate, more accurate predictions way farther out. You know, if you're doing, even advanced weather radar stuff, they're only going to tell you a week, maybe 2 weeks out, at the most. Farmer's Almanac can tell you a year out, 2 years out, because it's all done with these various lunar cycles. And that's why they're still in business, and you can still get one today. And I always check one out about once a year, and then make a mental note of what they said. And I always find it being true. I'll be like, oh, it's going to rain next week a lot. And somebody will be like, oh, I didn't say anything in the forecast about that. I said, well, I'm not looking at a forecast. I'm looking at what the fucking Farmer's Almanac said. And then sure enough, the next week it's fucking raining for 5 straight days. I've seen it happen a few times. And then you look at your weather app, your weather app says clear. No rain clouds on the forecast. I've seen it happen a few times. I'm sitting here looking at it raining outside the app and saying, clear. Like, this ain't clear, motherfucker. This goddamn, cow nut size fucking hail pieces flying out there. It ain't clear. Face reading artificial intelligence will tell police when suspects are hiding the truth. American psychologist Paul Elkman's research on facial expressions spawned a whole new career of human lie detectors more than 4 decades ago. Artificial intelligence could soon take their jobs. While the U.S. has pioneered the use of automated technologies to reveal the hidden emotions and reactions of suspects, the technique is still nascent, and a whole flock of entrepreneurial ventures are working to make it more efficient and less prone to false signals. FaceSoft, a UK startup, says it has built a database of 300 million images of faces, some of which have been created by an open AI system modeled on the human brain. The system built by the company can identify emotions like anger, fear, and surprise based on micro expressions, which are often invisible to the casual observer. If someone smiles insincerely, their mouth may smile, but the smile doesn't reach their eyes. Micro expressions are more subtle than that and quicker. FaceOff has approached police in Mumbai about using the system for monitoring crowds to detect the evolving mob dynamic. Panaya said it has also touted its product to police forces in the UK. A use of AI algorithms among police has stirred controversy recently. A research group whose members include Facebook, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, and Apple published a report in April stating that current algorithms aimed at helping police determine who should be granted bail, parole, or probation, and which help judges make sentencing decisions, are potentially biased, opaque, and may not even work. So that's what they're telling you. See, this is what they're telling you. They don't give two shits of a motherfucker if this stuff isn't inaccurate. They're going to put it to work and to use, even if its results are worse than before they had the technology. That's what's crazy about this. That's how you know this is being pushed by corporations in Silicon Valley and the rest of it. They don't give a fuck if it's worse than before, Jack. All that matters to them is that they get these contracts in all major cities, in small towns, in all police departments, local PDs, sheriff's office. You're talking trillions of dollars, man. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. Doesn't matter if it's worse than the results they were getting before they had this technology. Doesn't matter. They got to get this stuff in there, and that's why they're going to use something like another, false flag 9/11 type event, just like they did before, to implement this stuff. That's why they're getting this stuff ready now. And yeah, you're not seeing it rolled out at the local level quite yet, but all they need is one pretext, and that's it. It's over. Well, this is an interesting one. Space junk or sabotage. Space cleanup drones could have military implications. What? Yeah. Well, sure. You remember Maximum Overdrive, don't you? Love that movie. Love it. Based on the Stephen King story. And, they make you think that it's some comet comes over and makes all the machines on Earth go haywire and start killing everybody. But then when you find out, when you read the text on the screen at the end, you find out it wasn't a comet after all. It was an alien spacecraft, and it was shooting this beam at Earth to make all the machines basically depopulate the planet for them before they came in and took over. So that we would never knew what hit them. And it talks about that the UFO was destroyed by some Class A particle weapon that was hidden on a Russian weather satellite. I mean, I laughed my ass off at that for years because that's 100% the real deal. So many of these so-called commercial satellites and stuff are double as weapons. That's why they're built by military defense contractors. Even some of the ones that they use for like satellite TV broadcasting and stuff, like Hughes. I remember I used to see those infomercials all the time for Hughes satellites. Home satellite TV service. And Hughes started making hunter-killer satellites in the late 60s. Weapons on satellites that could shoot down UFOs in the atmosphere in the late 60s, ladies and gentlemen. Made by the Hughes Satellite Corporation, admittedly. So, absolutely. I mean, do I think it's possible that China sends up, what they're telling us are space junk eating satellites and really they have weapons on them? Yeah. Yeah, U.S. and Russia have been doing that for years. Weather satellites, communication satellites. Meanwhile, they're fucking equipped with like 20 fucking nuclear warheads. China calls them scavengers, Russia calls them inspectors, and the U.S. calls them threats. The race is on to clean up the space junk orbiting above our heads, but fears are these trash collectors are really killer gremlins. Touted as space junk cleanup drones, they also have the potential to grab vital GPS, communications, and surveillance satellites and send them hurtling towards the ground. And strange things are already happening in orbit. Analysts are asking, is it space junk or sabotage? Several critical geostationary orbit satellites have been reporting anomalies. Most recently, Intelsat 29E, which provided communication and navigation services to the Caribbean and North Atlantic, experienced damage that caused a leak of their propellant on the board of the satellite. Nobody is yet suggesting sabotage. Space junk remains the number one suspect, but as the satellite was only 3 years old and joins 5 other major satellite malfunctions in the past 2 years, the incident has started analysts talking. Is space junk already getting out of control, or is it something more sinister at play? According to MIT, attacks against satellites may have already happened. Last year, fears Moscow was developing a secret satellite saboteur were renewed when what was initially believed to be a piece of space junk left over from a rocket launch began to behave abnormally. It was changing course and speed under its own power. Yeah. That'd be a big 10-4 there, good buddy. Yeah. If it's moving, changing course and speed, if a satellite is changing course and speed and not staying in a geostationary orbit, so yeah, they're positioning that motherfucker, and it was doing so just days after U.S. Vice President Mike Pence formally announced plans to create a new Space Force. Why would it do this? Why the secrecy? Was it some sort of message? Now Beijing has declassified tantalizing details of what it calls an artificial intelligence-controlled space cleanup project. The so-called scavenger program was confirmed in state-controlled media by Luo Jinjian, Deputy Director of the National Laboratory of Spaceflight Dynamics Technology at Northwestern Polytechnic University in Xi'an. We prefer not to talk about it publicly, he said, but talk about it he did. Referring to the uncontrolled crash of Tiangong-1 experimental space station last year, Mr. Luo said that the use of newly developed technology could guide such craft to burn up in the Earth's atmosphere safely. According to the South China Morning Post, he said that the project was still experimental and there had been no large-scale deployment of such orbital robots. The project involved small satellites, some weighing less than 10 kilograms, with robotic arms and small thrusters. Their sensors and thrusters enable them to approach within 20 centimeters of an object before reaching out and grabbing it. This could be a cast-off rocket casing, an old satellite with a dead power source, or a fully functional military or commercial device. Weaponized garbage trucks. The Morning Post also quoted recently declassified Communist Party documents as saying the concept of orbital drones has been under development since 2008. Again, all these, they've had space-based weapons up there for years, but because they're banned by all sorts of international treaties, they can't publicly admit they have them and or test them. So that's what a lot of these different things that we've seen through the years, like the last space shuttle that went down was in like 2003. That's supposedly what that's what the big word around the campfire is. That was taken down by one of our space-based weapon systems, either on accident or on purpose. A lot of this stuff we've seen crashing, these strange things falling out of the atmosphere over the last 5-6 years. Yeah, they've definitely been shooting stuff down up there for a while. Let's see what else we got. Do I even have anything else? Is that it? Surely not. Trump. Well, that Trump ego was at play again. I guess you guys heard about that. Trump met with Lil Kim at the DMZ. First president to ever go into North Korea. Again, it's just like I said about the the Iran warmongering stuff and how that ego sometimes can serve us for the good. And I think kind of the same thing here. Although, I don't know what listen, something big's in the works. I mean, you guys know that. I think we've all known that for a while. Something big's coming in the next couple months. I don't know what. I'm not going to go as far as to say, I still think that the fake alien invasion thing could happen any day now. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not. I still think we have a few more things to go through before we get to that, but it's possible. But, he just got back from the G20 meeting. Bilderberg Group meeting happened a few weeks before that. Bohemian Grove, all this stuff goes on around this time of year. The fact that he had that meeting and then had a little stopover to talk to Kim in North Korea, well, something like, I think basically he's meeting with these people like, look, y'all get our back on this shit that's about to go down. Have our back on it, help us reinforce the official story, whatever it might be. And those of you that help us out in this, we'll take care of you on the back end. Something's going on here because this is the kind of shit Donald does when he's trying to close a deal. He's trying to close a deal with these world leaders about something, and they're not being upfront about what it is. And it's certainly not the stuff they tell us that's, the usual talking points. It's certainly not Iran or, climate change or anything like that. Something big's coming, and he's doing the rounds to make sure that he got the people he needs on his side before it happens. That's what this is. Again, I can't speculate and tell you I know 100% what's coming, but something for sure is coming. Let me see what else. I think that might be it. I thought I had more than that, but no, I don't see anything else. I really would like to get more questions in here, have more questions for the show tomorrow. So, again, definitely get your questions ready. And everybody get your contributions in so we can reach our goal by tomorrow so we, could stave off going under yet again. None of this is possible without you. I don't have sponsors or advertising to try to sell you any bullshit or crap. And nothing's possible without you, folks. I'll give updates, and I'll tomorrow. I'm going to be try to get your contributions in tomorrow. If you want to get your questions and contributions in, either for the $200 level where you get the box set download and a question, or the $100 level, whatever it may be. We need to have all our contribution. Well, we need to have a minimum of 800 of our total goal right now, which is like 815. We need to have from that. We need to have a minimum of 800. 1,000 would be even better, but a minimum of 800 from that number, and we need that by 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. But if you want to get your questions in, try to get them in before that, because I'm going to try to do the show early tomorrow so I can keep you guys apprised of where we're at. All right? Get your contributions in, folks. We got to have it to stay alive. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.